What's up, Victoria? It's me, Victoria. Today we're going to be jumping into the hautemess time machine and looking back at some old critical sasses with a new critical lens. If you are new to my channel, hi, welcome. My channel is focused a lot on looking back at makeup purchases and usage to really figure out how to make better makeup purchases going forward. We live in a hype-based consumption system over here in the beauty sphere, and what I'm trying to do for myself and hopefully help you to do through my videos is to just help you be more discerning about your purchasing habits when it comes to the makeup world. You can obviously take anything you learn here and apply it to other aspects of your life, but we're doing it through the lens of makeup. So if you're not yet subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe. And before we get too far into the video, please check out my pinned comment. There will be links to support people who need your help. So this is a new video series. I don't think I want to call it Hautemess Time Machine. I have to credit Hannah Louise Poston with that one. Kelly's pitch was, I told you so. So I'm not sure that we really landed on something permanent when it comes to naming this series, and it doesn't really need a name, and also you might not even like this series, but you may know that I do a lot of reflecting on this channel. I reflect on purchases that I made a year ago every month, and kind of just like constantly, consistently through my content, it's like reflecting on whether a purchase is good or not. A lot of what I like to do in reflecting is also check in on how I'm consuming makeup, how my relationship with makeup is changing as someone who receives PR and makes money with content about makeup. It just changes my relationship a little bit, and I like to try to be honest about that. Sometimes I think there's a disconnect between that with viewers and content creators. It's really easy on this side of things to forget that there was a time where you did not get PR and no one was paying attention to you. So I try to be very cognizant of that as I navigate through the space, and I love to navigate through this space. So what this video concept is, I went back to the very first Critical Sass. Critical Sass is my new makeup release video that I used to do a lot more than I do now, but when I do it, most of the time I'm trying to talk myself and you out of the new makeup launches, trying to bring the hype down. I also do a series called The After Sass. I like to look at my makeup collection to see if I have anything that can do something similar or exactly the same as the new makeup launches. Because we all have our own personal taste, and we tend to buy things that are in that taste. So if you like red blush and a red blush comes out, you probably are inclined to buy a red blush, except you probably have a lot of red blushes already. This is the kind of reflecting I like to do. I went back to my original Critical Sass. I pulled some products that I discussed in it, and we're going to be trying to figure out, was it worth the hype to begin with? Do people still talk about this product in their content today? Do I know people personally that still use the product? Has anyone rebought the product since it launched? Was it a limited edition product? How was that product eventually received by the beauty community at large? I'm obviously talking from a very specific perspective here. You will have a different perspective than me. So as we navigate this, if I say something negative about a product that you love and have rebought, keep buying it if it works for you. But this is just kind of like a overall reflection to help us get out of that hype-based mentality that we seem to have on the internet. We are almost 4 years out from the first Critical Sass, which is a crazy thing for me to say as the person who made Critical Sass what it is. We have a lot of hindsight about these products. So let's jump into it. We're going to take some looks back. We're going to hear from old me, and we are going to hear from me throughout the years also through this video. And I will add commentary where I feel like I need it to. Like, it's not going to be just like a watching Critical Sass again, I promise. What I'm going to try to answer with each product is, was it worth the hype? Also, what can we learn from that release, whether or not it was worth the hype? The first product I wanted to take a look back at is actually kind of something that goes against what I'm trying to prove here, but I think that's okay. We're going to talk about the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Based on the description, this is a foundation that I am very interested in. I just have too many foundations in my collection right now. I am really trying to be cognizant of that and use up some of my foundations, and a lot of my foundations that are in my collection currently are at least a year old, if not two. A lot of them are well past their 12-month date of expiration. Being aware of what I'm bringing in. So foundation's like really off the table because it's like something that does go off, doesn't have the most stable shelf life. I don't want to buy this and then have it sitting in my drawer, or buy this and then really like it and then continue to use it over other things that I probably should be paying attention to. This will be a pass for now. Once I am down to like 3 foundations, this is a foundation I could see myself snacking to try in the future. I'm not going to be a person who buys this and reviews it for launch date. What that also means is that I can also wait for other people to review it and then see if it's even worth me trying with my doll hairs. I love dewy. I love light as air. I love natural coverage. All of those things sound good to me. A lot of people really like NARS complexion. I have a foundation from NARS that I really like. It's the soft matte foundation. I used to really like matte foundations. I've moved away from that, but I really still like the NARS soft matte foundation. I don't have the right shade for myself right now. It's so funny, in this clip I talk about how it would be a product I would like to try in the future, and I still haven't. I still haven't tried this foundation, and that will be even funnier going further into this video about another product that we will talk about, but it is a product that I think has stood the test of time. This foundation seems to be a lot of people's favorite foundation. I know a lot of people to this day still use it regularly. I know influencers who have used it up and have bought it again because it is a foundation that they really enjoy. It seems to do all the things that it promised, and it's a real crowd pleaser. I also think that it has a shade extension that happened somewhere along the line. For me and my fair, cool, leaning skin, I find that NARS can sometimes be a little bit too warm. I find that their undertones are not normally favorable to my undertone, but I think that they've even expanded on their range to include more undertones. So that is really great to see in here. And obviously that means it's doing well. I do think when we see a shade extension on an item, whether it's like eyeliner or a foundation, it means that the product's good. It's selling well and people are interested in buying it and they want more people to be included in buying it. Either way, I think NARS actually did a really good job with this. NARS is like a legacy brand. They've been in the game for a really long time. A lot of their products have stood the test of time, and they are not a real big risk taker brand. You can pretty much calculate what you're going to see every year. You're going to see a holiday release with a blush palette. You might see two, maybe one that has a little bit of a deeper quality to it. You're going to see a summer eyeshadow release. You're going to see a winter eyeshadow release. There will be some maybe oddball single item that they try. I think this year they're doing a highlighter. You're going to see NARS Orgasm repackaged. You're going to see NARS Orgasm X repackaged. You're going to see the same stuff from NARS over and over again. And I think that has made them a little bit more of a reliable brand. Not only that, I think their complexion products have been very popular for a very long time, and they are highly repurchased by the people who like them. I was often matching people to NARS complexion products when I worked at Sephora. People finding their summer foundation, people who hadn't used it in a while and they remember really liking it and going back to it. Like, NARS complexion products are on our minds and the regular consumers' minds, which I think is only good for NARS, which leads me to believe that NARS is not going to make a formula that feels really risky when they release it. And I do think that from NARS, you're typically going to get a good, if not exceptional, product release from them. I do just think that they really know what they're doing. I know they have recently started reformulating a bunch of their stuff. I don't know if that's in a shift to be more clean or if it has something to do with them removing talc, but there has been like a overhaul on a lot of their stuff. I just think that NARS is a brand that one probably could blind buy and most of the time have a good experience as long as you know what shade you're buying. I do want to emphasize, however, I think with complexion products, specifically foundations and concealers, I think the best course of action before you buy it is to sample it if you have a place where you can sample it from nearby your home, or watching influencers talk about it, watching trustworthy influencers who are interested in the same types and finishes that you want from your complexion products before taking the risk to buy it. I just don't think blind buying foundation is worth it. An influencer's job, a content creator's job is to do that money spending for you and reviewing it for you so you can make a more educated decision whenever you are buying a new foundation. The next thing we're going to talk about is Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Pencils. I love a multi-chrome for my lids, but I am just not an eyeliner person, so this like misses me in a different kind of way. Liners are like not my favorite thing, and so I couldn't see myself using these. These have gotten into the hands of some creators that I follow, and people are not enjoying these very much. It does feel like a lot of her stuff is like hit or miss to people. Like it is one or the other. I wouldn't want a multi-chrome in my waterline. I always just feel like eyeliner is not the moment for me. It will never be the moment for me. And you know, who knows, 3 months from now, maybe eyeliner will be the moment for me. But like even in these swatches, they don't look that spectacular, right? Like, you know, whenever I want to see a multi-chrome swatched, I want it to be like, I've gone to space. I don't even think that the swatches here are like giving multi-chrome. They're giving like pretty, but they're not like giving me multi-chrome. It's so funny hearing myself talk back then. It's like I don't really consider myself to be an eyeliner person. I'm like not an eyeliner aficionado. I often say whenever I'm trying out an eyeliner, I'm like, go find someone else who reviewed the eyeliner that really likes eyeliner, because I'm looking for two things, and almost all of my eyeliners are from the same brand because I found one I liked and I was like, okay, I'll just get the colors I like and that's that. Also, I will say that's probably a very reasonable thing for you as a regular consumer to do. If you find a formula that you like that comes in many colors, like a lip liner or an eyeliner, if you keep buying from the same brand, you're likely going to be better off because you already know that formula. And hopefully the formula is consistent amongst the colors. That's not always the case, but a lot of the time it is. I don't think that this product was worth the hype. This was an era of time, early 2022, where we were starting to see main brands in Sephora and Ulta, start to dabble in multi-chrome finishes. And we have seen that a lot in indie brands like Cleona, Terra Moons, Davina. There are indie brands who are out there just like making phenomenal multi-chrome formulas that you couldn't find inside of Sephora. And it was something that a lot of people who were in the space or who were not willing to buy from indie brands wanted to see from major brands. So I think that the thought process of Danessa doing this made a lot of sense. Like, I think there was a cry for it. I think that people were hungry to be able to find multi-chromes in Sephora and have them to be easily accessible to them. Not only that, I think this was around the time where we were starting to see the first multi-chrome eyeliners coming out. I think Sugar Drizzle had one, but I don't think they make it anymore. I was just looking at their website. I think Kaleidos released theirs around this time, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. And now there's a lot of brands that are really cost effective that you can find multi-chrome eyeliners. I don't know about the formulas because, again, I'm not an eyeliner girly, but I know I can say that I have seen Teresa is Dead, who is a multi-chrome aficionado and also someone who really likes eyeliner. And she also has a lot of standards for eyeliner that I don't think I have. And she really likes the Sephora collection one. So there, and I think ColourPop has them. Like, there's like options now that there wasn't at the time where this came out. I was also looking at Sephora's website and the reviews, they only had a little over 3 stars, which is pretty bad. You won't find a lot of products on like Sephora and Ulta that will have like a 1-star review where every review is negative, because ultimately the stores still have to move product and they don't want the product to look that bad. Some people might risk it for a 3-star review overall. A lot of people will not risk it for a 1-star review overall if they see that while they're shopping on their website. I said this in the clip, but I still stand by this. I think that Danessa Myricks makes a lot of hit or miss products. Danessa clearly has a vision for how she likes to do makeup. I do think that sometimes she selfishly makes products for her kit, but maybe don't have a lot of use for a regular person who is doing their makeup every day. She does a lot of editorial looks, which requires makeup that we don't really have easy access to as people who are not doing makeup professionally, because when you're doing makeup on other people, when you're doing editorial work, it's just a whole different thing. You need finishes, you need to be inventive, and I think that she has done the work to find ways to do the inventive things. And then she's like, well, what if I just formulated that thing and I had it and I didn't have to like mix this, that, and the other to be able to have that thing? And I think that is something that we see a lot in her releases. I sometimes like Danessa Myricks releases. I sometimes really dislike Danessa Myricks releases, and that inconsistency still to this day is something I feel about the brand, where it's just like she releases something and I'm like, okay, I don't think that's really gonna work for me. I don't think that the multi-chrome eyeliners was a bad idea. I think it was a really good idea, but even in the photos you could tell they're not super like multi-chromey, and I just think this was just a formulation dud. But I'm actually surprised they still sell them because I remember these being very poorly received. So when it comes to a Danessa Myricks product, I think unlike NARS, I think that a lot of what she sells is worth sitting on your hands and waiting for a review on, unless it's one of the Lightwork palettes. Those seem to be very popular. I tried her Groundwork palette and I wasn't impressed. A lot of it comes down to taste as well. But I'm curious if any of you bought these multi-chrome eyeliners. Do you still have them? Do you still use them? I'm curious. I think this one is actually the funniest one for us to talk about. Charlotte Tilbury had recently released her Beautiful Skin Foundation. It's interesting that both NARS and Charlotte Tilbury have basically come out with, obviously not the same formula, but the same idea, right? Where it's like, this foundation improves your skin over time. I think in general, we just need to like let foundation be foundation. It's not skincare. I don't mind like a tint to a skincare item if we're gonna do it. Here's my gripe with Charlotte Tilbury. Everything is so yellow. And as someone who has a pink undertone, I don't really always match my foundation to like the pinkness in my skin. Well, right now, I'm using self tanner but not all over my body, just on my face. So like right now my face is like a real different color than the rest of my body. Trial and error, babes. It's trial and error. Honest and like being vulnerable with you right now, which is like something I'm working on just in my life in general. I even saw this in store the other day and I was like, let me pick up the latest cool tone. Not buy, but like let me just look at it. And it was so yellow. And so I just don't trust Charlotte Tilbury's undertones. So this sounds like a lovely product, but if I were to choose between this one and NARS, I would go with NARS. I also just like don't trust Charlotte Tilbury as a brand. Like, I don't know. I don't get good vibes. It feels like fake luxury to me. I actually do know if it was worth the hype, and we have to go back to a review I did 9 months after I made that Critical Sass video. Nothing about this just really stuck out to me as something really special. When you're in the price range of like $40 and up for a foundation, it's gotta feel special. It does wear really nice. I always thought my foundation still looked really good at the end of the day. That might be the only pro. It sounds like I hate it, but I really don't hate this foundation. I try to keep my foundation collection relatively reasonable for someone who's making content, but also just for a makeup lover. I know that a lot of us, even as makeup collectors, we have a lot of makeup in our collection, but I like to try to cap myself at 4. So if I think about my 4 precious foundation spots that I have in my collection, this would never make the cut. It would never be one of the 4. While I am looking to replace one of the 4, it doesn't even replace the one that I rank the least best in my foundation collection right now. I don't like this pump because it did get pretty messy. It says too neutral. It says that there. It is claiming its own neutrality, but it is so yellow. When I hold this product, I do not feel luxury. I know that like this is a certain type of packaging. In my opinion, it's not giving the luxe. It's kind of failing me in all kind of facets. This isn't the worst thing, but I also think if you were looking for a new foundation, this wouldn't be the first one I would recommend to you. I do think that in that review clip, I'm being a bit harsh. I think I did a whole dedicated review to that foundation, but I also included it in my Charlotte Tilbury brand review. I think I mostly remember the foundation being like, I think that's what fucked me off about it, because it was like expensive and Charlotte Tilbury brags and brags and brags about her formulas. And then when you get something after she's talked about it and it's been so hyped and it's just like fine, it's like, okay. That's fine. She's also a brand that is super, well, was. I don't know that they still have like the cachet that they do on TikTok. Like there was a time where Charlotte Tilbury was like a TikTok brand where they were talking about it a lot on TikTok, but I don't think that that's still there. But it was really hyped at the time. She was really following the success of her Spotlight wand, which really popped off on TikTok. And it was like maybe like the first TikTok shop darling where people could start making commission on it. And I do think that product is good. I did eat my words a little bit whenever I tried that product. Finally, it was something that I used a lot for a year or so, and I just finally got rid of it because other things came into my life that I was much more interested in using. NARS was also doing it a lot whenever they were promoting the light reflecting foundation, but this is around the time where I feel like it really became important for brands to put skincare and sell skincare in their makeup as part of the selling point. Like you were going to wear this makeup and your skin's going to get better over time. That is a marketing scheme that I don't care for. I have gotten pushback for having this opinion. A foundation should be something that is very neutral on the skin. Like it shouldn't make me break out. It shouldn't give me any kind of reaction. I shouldn't have an allergic reaction to it. But I'm also not expecting my foundation to like add nutrients and whatever, you know, like whatever they're claiming that it can do. A lot of the times we have found, especially when niacinamide became the ingredient of the year ago or 2 years ago, and then everything had niacinamide in it. I know a lot of people who can't use products that have niacinamide in it because they have a reaction to it. So now all these brands are using the buzzword niacinamide, putting it in their products, and now they're leaving out a group of people who can't even use that product, who might have had they just not use it. Of course, you can't make something that's going to be completely allergy free. There are going to be people who are probably going to be allergic to something in every formula, but I'm just saying, like, you could have not put niacinamide in it, which seems like there is like a larger small group of people who do have a sensitivity to it. thinking about whether or not it was worth the hype now even further out than my review of that foundation. I don't see a lot of people talking about this foundation. I think there's like a couple people I know that like it and maybe have repurchased it. Unlike the NARS foundation that I mentioned earlier, there is no one who's like still, I think, actively putting it on in videos being like, you guys know this is my favorite foundation. I think a lot of people who tried it kind of had a similar experience to me. Like, it's good, it's like not the best. And at that point, why are you spending that much money on something that's good but not the best? I'm sure it is some people's favorite foundation. I don't think it's like the worst thing I've ever tried, but I don't think it stood the test of time. I can see that product going away in the future from Charlotte Tilbury's range and being reformulated and brought back out with a new buzzword attached to it and a lot of SEO in the title. Speaking of Charlotte Tilbury having a lot of products in their range, Charlotte Tilbury does carry a lot of products and not everything can be the brand's forte. And I don't ever really think that Charlotte Tilbury's complexion products have been received as well as something like a NARS foundation product has been. I didn't have Charlotte Tilbury in my store when I worked there, so I can't really speak to if a lot of people are asking to be matched on it. And obviously my resource for that is also now 4 years old and older because I haven't worked at Sephora since 2021. But I just also feel like when I watch people interact with Charlotte Tilbury displays when I'm out and about, very few people I feel like are looking at the foundation products. I think where Charlotte really shines is in her like cheek products. Those seem to be the things that people really like. The blush palettes when she releases them, people like the, you know, the wands, people really like those. That's what people are interested in. And if I was recommending a Charlotte Tilbury product, or if I felt confident in blind buying a Charlotte Tilbury product, those would be the products that I would buy from Charlotte Tilbury. But a foundation, I would want to go in store and feel the consistency of it. I feel like her formulas are often much thicker than they need to be. I don't really love thick foundation formulas. I think the only time her foundation was really relevant was whenever she had like the full coverage matte one, and that came out around the time where a lot of people were wearing full coverage matte in the late 2010s. But I feel like beyond that, we just don't hear a lot of people super celebrating Charlotte Tilbury's complexion products beyond the flawless filter. And the flawless filter is a lot of things. It could be a highlighter, it could be a primer. Some people wear it as like a skin tint. It could be a lot of things. And I think that's the only time she's really like nailed a complexion product. This reflection is going to be a little bit different because it's not specifically about a product. It's about a trend that actually I think started around this time. And it was when Chanel decided to start selling in Ulta. I'm not an Ulta shopper. It's not that I never have shopped at Ulta. I don't think to buy my items at Ulta. If more brands, luxe brands like Chanel, like a really luxury brands are gonna make the shift to Ulta, I'm gonna have to say that I think Sephora is kind of like fucked. I think that's so smart. And I think that a lot of people who never have tried Chanel might try Chanel because they were like, I didn't want to buy it from Nordstrom. I didn't want to buy it from Saks. I didn't want to buy it from A, B, and C places. And now I can buy it from Ulta. I don't know if stores are going to carry the full line or it's probably like a store by store basis. I'm going to go ahead and guess. I just feel like Chanel has been like a rather inaccessible brand for a lot of people. There's still a price inaccessibility, but a visibility. I guess like I would love to see other like luxury brands like get more visibility because I think people would be more willing to dabble in it from Ulta. Ulta very much feels like the self-service makeup place. So if people can like interact with these things by themselves, I think it's going to be only good for Chanel. Chanel is still in Ulta. They still sell in Ulta. I have to assume that it's going well. I'm not sure how long a contract was negotiated for, and are we beyond that contract? Has there been a new contract? I don't know those things. I'm not Jen Love, but we will talk about her in just a moment because I did ask her a question about this a couple weeks ago, and it kind of clarified some things for me. The main thing I was wondering in that clip in Critical Sass is like, will we see other luxury brands follow suit? And we have Pat McGrath, Natasha Denona, Ilia, Charlotte Tilbury. All of these brands now sell at Ulta too. I don't know if any brands have like jumped ship from Sephora completely into Ulta, but Ulta is really making a case for it being the person's one-stop shop. I think it was really smart of Chanel, people being able to use their points, which a lot of people do save up their points. I'm not an Ulta diva. It's just because I'm lazy. Do you guys follow Alice in the Rabbit Hole? She's often on her Instagram feed showing you how to like get mega bonus points, and I'm like, How do you keep up with this? But I also don't buy makeup or a lot of things at the rate I think for anything to really suit me as far as a reward system goes, especially when it comes to like a point system. I'm on a no buy right now anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. I was wondering why this might be the case. Why are we seeing some brands shift into Ulta, start selling at Ulta? And when I asked Jen about it, basically my understanding, if I understood it right from what Jen said to me, so Jen, if you're watching and you need to correct me, feel free because I'm quoting you, but I think it's cheaper for brands to put their products in Ulta. When people buy their products, they make more money on their products than they would at Sephora. I think Ulta just takes less commission from what they sell from the brands, and so it's just maybe a little bit easier. If you watch Jen's channel, which if you're not watching Jen's channel and you're interested in the like business aspect of some of the stuff, I think that she does a really great job covering it in a way that's pretty understandable. She has mentioned a couple of times that it's really hard for brands to start in Sephora because of the high cost it is to be in a Sephora, and also putting out products to stay relevant in a Sephora. Maybe we will start seeing Ulta do some of the stuff that Sephora does with smaller brands. I think if Ulta figured out their shipping where your stuff doesn't come broken all of the time, which is something that hasn't happened to me personally, knock on wood, I don't buy a lot from Ulta, but I have heard from other people that this is a big problem where palettes are coming broken, blushes are coming broken, everything comes broken. I think if they could figure that out and reliably ship stuff out, I think a lot of people could potentially make Ulta their one-stop shop whenever they're buying makeup. Do you shop exclusively at Ulta, or do you shop exclusively at Sephora, or do you kind of shop here and there for your makeup? Right now, if I am buying makeup, I try to buy it directly from the brand's website. I know there's no rewards in that, but I don't know. I'm just buying from brands directly at this point. Let's talk about an indie brand, which this will be really interesting to reflect on because of the brand and I guess also the product, but mostly the brand it is. But I talked about wanting Glaminatrix's Nocturnal palette. I want to see the whole thing and then I want to dupe the vibes of it. That's what I would like to do. I want to play with the color story, see if it's something that I would use because I've never tried Glaminatrix and I would love to. They're a brand that I think they're doing really good. I love kind of all of the releases that they've had. Eyeshadow is not a place that needs to continue growing in my collection. So for me to bring this in, I would have to really want it. And also, I imagine it's going to be a little bit pricey because Glaminatrix has been pricey. I would also be shipping it to the US from Australia, which would cost me a pretty penny too. Being aware of all of that, for me, this is an eyeshadow palette that I'm very interested in. I do not think it would likely come home with me because if I'm looking at these colors, these are colors that I am constantly interested in. It has like subculture vibes, which I used to own, but I have the Antiquities palette from Noctex, so similar vibes. I have the Metropolis palette from Natasha Denona. I'm a grungy girl in a grungy world, so I could very easily find this within my collection. A former version of me can actually answer whether or not I think this product was worth the hype. I don't care for this. Like, I still think that this color story is like very, very cool. It feels like it should be right up my alley. It doesn't fulfill the fantasy. So the palette had been out for a year before I bought it. Finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm buying this to review. You guys were still interested in hearing what I thought about it. It didn't live up to the fantasy that I had created in my head. Now, I think if I would have bought it at first, I think it would have had a little bit of a fighting chance. The whole reason we dupe the vibes or we create our version of a palette that inspires us to use our collection in a different way, that was the best part because I used that palette that I made that was like the dupe of this, which it wasn't even like a close dupe. Like the color story that I made is like not even closest color story. I had already had my best version of this palette and this palette was never going to live up to it. It's one of my newer palettes. It's in that drawer and I know it's there. And you know what I kept grabbing for over this stuff I already like. In fact, like today I used this palette. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership. I think it's number 5. And I don't use this palette that often. This palette's sitting right here for me to use. And I just said, I would, no, thank you. I would rather just use this thing I already have. I gag for a beautiful shimmer, right? Textured, beautiful, gorgeous, big, chunky, chunks of mica. Like that's something that I'm very into. And there's sparkle on my eyes today. I love sparkle. My favorite part of this palette was actually the mattes. And that's pretty uncommon for me. And my ideal palette is like mostly shimmers, texture, and then a couple of mattes to like use with the palette. The looks that I did where I would just like wear the mattes were like my preferred. The shimmers left me a lot to be desired. They're not bad. They're beautiful, but they just don't have the it factor that I'm really looking for when it comes to this, right? There's a bias against it because I did like my version of the palette better. I did not buy this for a year. It had been out for a year. And I don't think this color story is stale by any means. I still think it's a beautiful color story. I still think it really is gorgeous and it still inspires me. But like, I don't think that this is the version of this color story that's like actually the best version of this color story for me. Like altering it and doing different things with shadows that I just know I like more is going to be better for me. Is it a jump scare to see me in the past? Because sometimes it feels like a jump scare to me. I'm like, who is that? Who is that? We've come a long way as far as appearance goes. This is actually kind of interesting because I now receive PR from Glaminatrix again. Reflecting on the nature of my relationship with makeup is important, especially as a content creator, because it's like, now I just get stuff sent to me for free from Glaminatrix. But I do think looking back, I think a lot of people liked the idea of this palette more than they ended up actually liking the palette. I think the color story was really great. And I think a lot of us at this point were really longing for subculture-esque palettes after not having subculture on the market for a couple of years. And I think there were a couple brands filling the market. I mentioned that in the clip from the review. I had a palette from Nocturnal that was really beautiful. It was mostly mattes. Hi, Juliet. It was mostly mattes in that palette. It had these really beautiful grungy shadows in it that I remember really liking, and I do think I preferred that formula to the Glaminatrix matte formula. So one thing that I really want from an indie brand, I can give or take mattes from an indie brand, although there are a lot of indie brands who are really killing mattes these days, but at the time, I was really about the sparkle, the razzle dazzle, and the shimmers in this palette really didn't impress me. I don't know if I was as specific about my sparkle and what I wanted my sparkle to look like back then, but now when I'm buying from an indie brand, if I'm buying a sparkly eyeshadow from an indie brand, it's gotta be sparkly. It gotta be spangled. You're gonna wanna pledge allegiance to my eyeballs, okay? That's how sparkly the Star Spangled Banner on my eyes, okay? That's why I went razzle dazzle. I don't know why I used the illusion of the an American song. I also praised the mattes in that clip, which I don't really remember liking the mattes that much. I just really don't remember liking them that much. I think I was trying to give them some grace, and something I try to keep in mind as an American who was buying from Glaminatrix, and most of my audience is American, and that's not to say that you can't take my advice if you're not American, but especially right now with the de minimis being gone and tariffs making everything a little bit more expensive because the brands have to account for the tariffs. It's like a whole thing. But there's also, you have to wait because it takes a long time for international shipping. It's okay, I don't need things on demand. I'm not someone who needs to have Amazon deliver shit to me the next day. That's not who I am. But there were, at the time, a lot of indie brands doing what Glaminatrix was offering better. And at the time, I would have said to you, probably not worth going out of your way to even try Glaminatrix at the time. Now that I have tried a lot more from Glaminatrix, I do think that their formula has improved a lot from what I remember the Nocturnal formula being like. But when it comes to an eyeshadow palette, I do think it often comes down to color story, whether or not someone will get a lot of use out of it. Is colors that you're going to wear a lot, that you're going to wear in your everyday life, or are you buying this palette kind of as like a special occasion palette that you will use as much, but they are the kind of colors you like to wear when you're being more dramatic, when you are going out. Weirder colors maybe. My favorite palette that I've tried from them is their Timeless Tones palette. I think that's really gorgeous. There's a lot of colors in there that I really like and enjoy. I don't actually like the Nearly Natural palette as much as a lot of other people seem to. I think that the colors are just weird enough that I find them a little bit annoying to work with, and they're not always showing up on my eye the way I want them to. I think that their shimmer formula is pretty consistent amongst all of their new eyeshadow palettes. I have really liked their shimmer formula, their multi-chrome formula. I've been really enjoying playing with it. I also surprisingly really love the Tones of Turd palette. Those are colors that I don't really like to work with much anymore, but every time I've used that palette, I've really liked the final look that I have done, and it doesn't feel like I'm trying to like it. Like, it just is a really beautiful palette. The tones in there, I think it's called the Grounded palette now. I don't even know if they still sell that one, but like, that one was a real big surprise to me. They made me really enjoy working with that color story, which I used to really love color stories like that, but I had kind of fallen out of favor with them. But like that grungy yellow greeny thing I really enjoyed playing with that palette. But some of their other palettes you leave me a little more wanting, but it's also really down to like finishes and color stories, which is normally what is hit or miss for me when it comes to Glaminatrix. I think they have products that are worth going out of your way to buy directly from them. Either way, I really like Glaminatrix. I'm a fan now and I love what they do, and I think they're a really important brand in the space, and I can't wait to see what they do in the future. God, this is so long. This was supposed to be an easy breezy video. In Critical Sass, I also discussed the Suqqu melting color blushes. Love all of these. There's like a lilac blush, which I'm really into. I want all of them. Suqqu, I think, is only accessible in America through Selfridges. It does bum me out there's like not some American stockists, because Suqqu seems like a brand that I would really get on with. I'm very interested in what they're doing. I think all of their releases are just like incredibly beautiful. The only blushes that I would be on the market for right now would be cool toned blushes, because as I've been getting to know my collection as it currently is, that is like my biggest gap in blushes. All of my blushes are like lean orangey warm. None of these are adding to my collection. If I bought them, I just really want to try the formula, but I won't be purchasing them. Maybe in the future, but I don't think I'm even going to add these to my list, because like truly, honestly, I don't need another blush. Girl, I didn't know. Now I know a lot about Suqqu and how I feel about their products, but I didn't know at the time, and it's just so funny to hear me in that clip be like, I think Suqqu a brand that I would really enjoy. I tried a lot of products from Suqqu, and the clip I'm about to show you is not me trying the melting color blush. That formula has now been discontinued, and also the formula I'm going to show you in this clip, the pure color blushes, I think they have also been discontinued, and now they have the blurring blush something. I don't know, it's like a blurring formula, that's what they call it now. Here's my thoughts on that blush. I bought it because I thought it was really unique. Color of the blush, that orange, feels like it's gonna be so daunting and unwearable, but it like melts into your skin very much like the Suede blushes do. There's like no fuss to this formula. It really just looks so natural on the skin, even it being this color. This is like a highlighter. This is a very nice formula to wear as a highlight. I just don't know that it's worth going out of your way to buy. These aren't cheap blushes either. This was $37.50. So the blush was good. I'm sure that the melting color blush was good. However, when we're buying internationally in the United States now, as I just kind of mentioned with Glaminatrix, you have to keep in mind duties and shipping and all of that stuff now. And I know a lot of other countries have already had a long experience of having to pay duties and things like that. It's new to us. Give us some time to figure it out so we understand it a little bit better, whether or not we're going to pay it up front or going to get billed later for it. It's like it's just confusing for us. But now their blushes run for $48, and I went through the checkout process on Selfridges, and duties adds another $10 onto it. And if you buy it from Selfridges and you don't have like their shipping, like their free shipping, if you don't buy, it's not free, but if you don't buy their like yearly shipping thing where they ship without adding an extra shipping charge to it, it's another $35. So then your blush, which was $48, which is an expensive blush as it is, I'm not saying it's not, now is an $80 blush. And I went to check out on Cult Beauty because a lot of people will be like, well, I'll just buy it from Cult Beauty, because for some reason it's everyone's brain, it's like easier to buy from Cult Beauty, but I think it's like a similar idea as if you bought it from Selfridges. Taxes, duties, and shipping added another $30 to it, and it also ended up being about $85 buying it from Cult Beauty too. But yes, I did not have a great time trying a lot of Suqqu products, so Suqqu has a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. But I actually find Suqqu a brand that's really hard to navigate. They do a lot of limited edition collections, and those limited edition collections seem to sell very quickly. Like if you are just someone who maybe comes across a Suqqu release on one of those new release things on Instagram, you probably have already missed it, especially if it's a day old. Like if you are not up to date, you're not getting that. And I find that really stressful from like brands. I don't really have an inherent problem with limited edition stuff, but there's a real scarcity when it comes to Suqqu stuff, especially if you're trying to get it in the US. I don't actually know how hard it is to get Suqqu in Japan. Like if it's like not as high turnover for the limited release stuff, but I remember on Selfridges, a lot of the stuff was sold out very quickly. I just remember that there's like a real high turnover rate. And I think there's like, one could potentially get themselves up in a little bit of a bunch trying to buy this, and I just don't think it's worth it. I simply don't think it's worth it. We have good blush formulas that are more easily accessible to us here, and I don't think you need to go out of your way to buy it just to brag that you have a Suqqu blush. I feel like Suqqu one of those brands that's like, only real makeup lovers know about Suqqu in America, but I feel like internationally it does not have that same gravitas that it does here, and I'm just here to tell you it's not worth it, Judy. The hautemess Tom machine has come back around. We're back in October 2025. Thank you for going on that little bit of a journey for me. One thing I did want to mention before I go is that Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics still existed, and I talked about a product in that Critical Sass. It wasn't worth reflecting on because just like the hype of these products, Jaclyn Hill's brand no longer exists. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this new format. I'd be open to hearing your thoughts about it down below. I'm not always open to hearing feedback, but I think I'm open to hearing feedback about this at this time. So do with that information what you will in the comments. Also, let me know if you have any of these products, if you tried any of these products, if you wanted one of these products at the time, and then now that the hype is gone, you no longer wanted it, you haven't thought about it since 2022, and now I'm here bringing it back up to you, and you're like, oh my god, I remember wanting that, and now I don't even remember why I wanted it, because now it's 2025, and I don't even have it, and I never thought about it after that. I would love to know in the comments down below. I'm on Patreon, and I have channel memberships. You can find those in the description box down below. It's the same on both platforms. I just do an additional video every month. It's pretty casual and personal, so if you're into that and you want to support me that way, it's a great way to support me, but not necessarily a better way to support me. I'm so happy that you are here watching and commenting on my videos. It really supports me. Last thing, make sure you subscribe if you're not already, and make sure you check out the pinned comment. Click through those links if you have additional funds to support the people who I'm trying to help in that comment. I would appreciate you doing that. Anyway, friends, that's going to end the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your hoe, and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.